Okay, so I would like to start the first hour with talking about the maps in general. What was their purpose and what was the idea behind the maps and the first map, and like how they are actually appeared, and what is the short history of map making? Because I don't know how about you, but in childhood, I had a huge world map on the wall in my room, and I was amazed looking into different countries and imagining that I am there or here, or how are the people in this part of the globe or there. So it was before going to sleep, I was just looking at this map, and it was amazing to imagine the whole world. And that's why it is exciting that people started to lay out their idea of space on the maps. And then I was working a lot with master plans, and I realized that like in architecture, this is my field. I'm more interested in big scales and territorial formations and so on. And so I went to this field, and then we were working with lots of students and doing workshops in different universities and some platforms around the world. And we realized that it is really important to see how you lay down the information, how you do the diagrams, how you do the maps and the aesthetics of this. So this is how this course emerged, actually, because always when we do a workshop or a program, educational program, we spend, I think, like 30% of our, or maybe even 40% of our time trying to explain how to show the information and how to make the drawing to make it relevant. And we thought that maybe this would help somehow if we will do the course, which would be devoted to this. And then we split it into two parts because we share a different expertise with Katya. And she's really amazing in diagrams. Like I always learn from her. So yeah, this is a bit about ourselves. And the studio that we are creating, we are co-founding, is IMA Studio. And we are working with the future of architecture. And I would say that we would like to inspire people to do a better world and to design better future in terms of architecture, in terms of ecology, looking into the recent problems and ecological crisis and economical crises, and how we as designers can intervene and what we can do. And some of our projects, they cover different scales because, as I said, we share different expertise. And we look into the nature in the city, and not only in the city, but this is very important for us to see how natural and anthropogenical processes intervene, and how we can treat nature not as an object that we use and that we own, but as a subject, like that nature is an actor that can do something for itself and has its own processes. And so, for example, in this project, we were looking into how robots, robotic units can work simultaneously and in a combination with the mycelium growth, and how these two very different processes, which is the machinic one and the natural one, can create something together. And the human being is being only an observer of this. And people could not intervene with the structure and with the incubator directly. The intervention was indirect. For example, if there were a lot of people around the robotic unit, the atmosphere would change, and then the growth of mycelium would change, and the robot will behave differently. Okay. So we also love working with the parametric tools, with computational design tools and coding architecture. And we do some, excuse me, some work for the famous designers and architects, helping them to code their ideas. So this is the facade in Mumbai that we built last year with Giles Miller's studio. Is a bit of a crazy project because it's very huge. I think this can only be possible in India. Okay, so this was the short introduction for our studio and myself. And we can go to the maps and master plans. Like, why do we need them? So maps actually are the best idea to represent our idea of the Earth. And it is not only important to lay the information down on the canvas. It's important to tell the story. Like, each map is telling something. And this is, I think, the most important part, that the information and the data and the layers that you are creating on the map, they all should speak for a story and a one story. And everything that is on this map, it should lead for the user, for the person who looks on it, so that he will get this story and he will get this idea behind the map. And the whole graphics and aesthetics depends on it. So basically, no one knows who was the first to communicate a sense of a place, some sense of here in relation to there. I think this is a good phrase from John Whitfield about the map. So we were trying to picture something that is not here but is there. So and is a relative process. So you are drawing some sense of place and your relation to it. Oops. And one of the oldest maps on the Earth is thought to be those Babylonian clay tablets, and it's very old. And Babylonians were trying to depict their city, and they were also trying to depict the world map, the sense of where Babylon city, how it is related to the whole world. Of course, it was in the center at this moment. So in those times, even people were trying to create the map which will show their place in the world. They were trying to find their place in the world, let's say. And also there are really good examples of different ancient maps, and I think it's very good aesthetically as well, because maybe also because of the lack of visual tools to represent information. So they were usually two colors or maybe three colors, but it's really good aesthetically, and also is good because they were showing some information, some idea, a story which they needed to show. So people those times, they were skipping most of the details because they actually even didn't try to show them. So for example, here is the map of the tracks, and also you can see the huge rivers. And what is amazing about this map is also the grid, the rectangular grid, because at those times people started to think about how to locate yourself on the map, which was a very important process for the next lots of decades. And this map is really amazing. It's the map of Rome and the Roman Empire, and it actually doesn't have any relation to the scale or maybe proportions. They just didn't think about that, because the purpose of the map was to show the roads and the distances. And the distances were shown in the how many time it will take you to go to the next point. So it was very useful, I think, at those times for the travelers, because you were exactly like understanding how many days it will take you to come from this point to that point. And this map, I think, was really good and useful. And also, I think that they were trying to make it linear, so you can easily take it with you and use it. So it's really good example of doing a very useful for the traveler map, skipping lots of unnecessary details. And I really love this map because I think that indigenous people, they had many, not even indigenous, but I think I would tell about the nomadic people, or maybe the people who were traveling a lot. So they had different perceptions of space, and their maps were quite outstanding. So, for example, this map, it was the Aboriginal person who were traveling with Captain Cook around the islands, and so he drew a map for Captain Cook. His name was Tupaya. He spent like few years with Europeans, so he basically pretty well understood how Europeans are drawing maps, and he was trying to follow our rules. I mean, in terms of the canvas and like top view and everything, because I think in his own culture he didn't have that. But at the same moment, the islands and their location and their sizes, they are not natural. Like, he wasn't trying to depict what was in the sea in reality. Instead, he was looking into how those islands are important for the sailor. So the better the island for in terms of the place to stay, in terms of the nature, in terms of safety, the bigger the island would be and the closer it would be. Because and also the proximity with the distances between the islands also depends on the sea and on the waves and how it's easy to travel between them. So it's really good for navigation, because you are not seeing the real world, but you are looking into the important things for you in particular when you are traveling by boat. So you know that this island is close because it's easier to get there, and it's big because you can get a lot of good goods and stay for a long time. So this was the purpose of the map. And also other examples, for example, the Marshall Islands stick chart is not a map, let's say, but it was used to teach new sailors how to sail. And the idea behind this chart was to show how to catch the wave, the best wave to sail. So using this stick chart and following it, you could really see and learn, even not go into the sea, how you can catch the wave. And the second one is from the Arctic pole, from Inuit peoples, and they are showing the fjords. And again, it's not depicting the reality, but instead the places where you can easily park, I don't know how to say, your boat, and what would be the best place to stay on the shore. So the next step was that people were trying to understand the whole place, the Earth, because we didn't have those satellites those times, and basically people couldn't travel that far. So it was really amazing for me one day to understand that Greeks managed to understand that the Earth is not flat, that it's a circle, and moreover, they were able to measure the circumference of the Earth, and it was quite precise. So it was the a man called Eratosthenes, and he was a librarian in Alexandria, and he was not really traveling. Like, he was sitting in the library his whole life, but he was listening to the travelers. And one day he understood that he heard from a traveler that in Seine there is a well, outstanding one, because when the sun is in the zenith, there is no shadow from this well. So Eratosthenes thought that this is the equator, that this is the place where the sun rays are going perpendicular to the Earth's surface. And then he saw the wells in Alexandria, and they were given shadow every time. Like, there was no a place at noon where there were no shadows. So that's how he measured the angle, and then he measured the angle, and then there is a triangle with one perpendicular angle, and then this is the really simple Pythagorean math and geometry to understand the size of x, as you see on the picture. And then he just measured that 7 degrees is a particular part of the whole circle, and then he measured the whole Earth's circumference. So Greeks really knew that Earth is not flat, that this is a sphere and spheroid, and that this is somewhere in the space. And they even so this is the early map of Eratosthenes of the world. So he was trying also to map the world. Of course, he didn't know a lot of information about that, but that